all that we have to able to do is that we have to bring them closer together. So here we can bring all of them under square root. Okay, so that's the first thing. Since this one they are together, let's put a parenthesis around it. Okay, it's multiply. So that's the first thing that we do. So even if you want, you can write it out. Do your multiplication or the distributive, and then after that we bring the square root back. So here we are multiplying. It's two terms here, so we are multiplying the whole of this times this, and the whole of this times that. Okay. So if you multiply 2x times x, what do we get?
2x squared.
Okay, first you bring your operation sign. 2x times 1 will give you what? 2x. So after that you bring your square root. That's all I have to do about this one.
Okay.
Here, too, when we come the same thing, here is 2 terms and 2 terms as we are looking at it individually. So we can bring them back. So since there are 2 terms, we cover it with that. And we cover it with the parenthesis too. Alright, you can write it without the square root if that is scaring you. But here we got 2 terms multiplying another 2 terms, so it's 2 by 2, which is going to give us 4 individuals, and then after that we combine like terms. So if I don't know if I do this, would it confuse you? This multiply this multiply that, and this one too will multiply this and multiply that. Would it confuse you?
No.
We are using the FOIL. Okay. So if that is the case, this times x will give you what?
X squared.
Then x times 3 will give you what? X times 3x. Okay. Now this negative here, so it's affecting the whole of that. So negative 2 times x will give us what?
Negative 2x.
Okay. And then negative 2 times 3 will give us what?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. And you see that we got 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. But there's a like term here that we have to combine. So when we combine, what do we have?
1x.
Good. So 1x, but we'll write it as x here. And then minus 6. And don't forget to bring your square root back. So that's all you do.
Okay.
Alright, so let's move on to the other examples. We got a whole lot of numbers and the variables. One thing that we have to note is that perfect squares, okay? Square root of 4, square root of 9, and what else? Do you know the perfect squares? 16, 25, 36, and all that. And the meaning is that any number times itself is the one that gives us a perfect square. So square root of x squared, we need to know. And here we are not dealing with, though we are dealing with square roots. Normally, when we talk about square root, opposite of a square root is a square. So we're expecting 2 answers. So we are looking at plus or minus. But when it comes to these expressions, we are looking at only the positive aspect of it. So negative doesn't come in. So the square root of x squared, since here we can say that it's 2 times 2, that gives us 2. So it's 2, 3, 3, so 3, 4, 4, so 4, 5, 6. So here x times x, so it's 1. When you take a square root of x squared, you get x, okay? Alright. So here, let's simplify individually. Continue to simplify individually before we bring them together. So here, can any perfect square go into 18? Can any of this number divisible here?
9.
Good. So 9 times what?
2.
Good. So here, nothing can happen here, so we just leave it like that, okay? Because 2 is just a irrational number, so we leave it like that. Good. Now, we can split this one, so we can split this one as a square root of 9 times square root of 2x times square root of 2 times square root of x squared. The reason why I didn't split the x and the 2x is that they are irrational numbers. There's no perfect square in there. Okay. But square root of 9 is what? 3. So it becomes 3. Okay. So this can become 3 root x squared. And then here, square root of x squared is what? This one. X. So yeah. So that will come outside and then root 2. Here we are multiplying. So this is the coefficient and this here is what we call the radicand. The radicand or the radicate. Okay. So this multiplied that and this multiplied that. Okay. So we are going to get 3x and then 4x. But when we multiply, we realize that something is also happening. Here we are getting 4, and 4 is what? A perfect square. So that means this here can be written as 3x times square root of 4 times square root of x. Okay? And square root of 4 is what? And 2 times 3 is what? So 6x. And then, so this is the simplest form. There's another way that we can do it. If this is long, we can also look at that. Do you want us to look at another way? Okay. It's always good for you to get options. Hey, okay, guys, let's get back to work. Okay. All right. No slacking. Okay, so another way, so we could multiply. So let's multiply. So we can bring them together as 18 times 2 times x squared. Okay, we bring all of them together. And 18 times 2 will give us what? 36. And then x squared times x. Okay, I try to bring the x squared closer here. It doesn't matter though. Now let's split it. We get square root of 36 times square root of x squared times square root of x. And square root of 36 is what? 6. And square root of x squared is what? 6. And then square root of x, square root of x, we can't do nothing, we leave it. It's just like irrational. And we can't go any further, so we stop here. You like the second method better?
Yeah, that was easier.
Okay, so yeah, that's also another. Let's look at the other. What is the first step here?
We combine.
Okay, so bring them together.
And then we write them in parentheses, right? We combine them.
Okay. And what do we do?
And then we do x times x and x times -8.
Okay, and then that, okay. And then this, and then awesome. Okay.
And x times x is x squared.
So we get x squared.
And we get -8x.
-8x. My pen is off. Okay.
And then we get 8x.
Awesome.
And then 8 minus 8, that's just x.
And we get what? Negative what?
Oh, -6.
8 times 8. 64.
Oh, multiply, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. So what else?
Combine like terms.
Okay. So when we combine like term, what happens?
Negative 8 plus 8 is negative 16x.
Wow, that's a good try. Look at here. This is negative and this is positive.
Oh, so the 16.
So what do we get?
16x.
That's a really good try. Look at that. You get negative 8. And you're adding it to 8.
Oh, 0?
0.
Oh.
You got $8. You owe somebody $8. You balance it out. You get none. So here you get, so now is 0. We get this to be that. This one too. There's another formula that we could have done. We call it difference of two squares. Difference of two squares say that if I have, my pen is messed up, so I'm gonna struggle a little bit. If I have A plus B times A minus B, this is the same as A minus B all squared. And you see, we could see here that was what was happening. You see, this is minus, this is plus. So here we could have stated that, oh, this have to be, we take only the negative. All right, that's the difference of two squares. So x minus 8. And then all squared here. And then we square this one. And we square this one. And that would have given us the answer. This one. And then we square this here. And that would have been 64. And that would give us that. But I like this, the long, it's not all that long, so I like that one. Okay? Now let's move on to have this. The same way, what should we do? What's the first thing that we have to do?
Combine.
Okay, we bring all of them in one way. And I will put it in the maybe vertical way. Okay? Okay, so this is what I mean. Okay, and here the next we'll try to see if we can cross some of this out. So realize that x is down here, so if this square is repeated x, so we could write it as 5 times x times x, and all divided by 2 times x. Okay. And realize that there is x here. Any number divided by itself is 1, so that will turn into 1, leaving us with 5x up here and 2 here. Okay, and all square root. So that's how low we can go, because the 5 and all 2, all of this is rational numbers. So that's how low we can go, and that's it.
Okay.
Alright, so let's look at the other, like this more complex here. So they want us to simplify this. So what is it? First thing that we can do, okay, combine them in a vertical way. Okay. So this is equals to 20 x cubed and 5. Okay, what do I do next? Can you speak a little now?
We separate the 20, so it'll be 20 times x times x times x over 5x.
Good. By the 20, can we also break the 20 with respect to 5? 20 divided by 5.
4.
Okay, so that means we can break the 20 with 4 times 5, and then x and x and x, as we said, all divided by 5x here. Okay. And bring our square root. So 5 and 5 turn into 1.
Mm-hmm.
X and X turn into 1. Right. So now what we have is we have 4 here. So we have square root of 4 here. And the X times X is what? X squared. Okay, here all of them has 10 into 1, so square root of 1 is 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you can split it to see the picture properly if you want. So, I should have even asked you. Okay, so now, what is the next step?
Put them back together again.
We just split them. They were together, we split them.
Now multiply.
Okay, so now look at square root of 4.
Oh, square root of 4 is 2. And 2 times x.
Square root of x squared is what?
X.
Good, so yeah. So that becomes that. So the answer, the simplification becomes just what? 2x.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any further question?
No, thank you. I think that's it.
Okay. One thing that we have to know, if we have a times square root of b, square root times square root of b is the same as square root of what? A times b. So we have to bring them together first, okay? So first of all, let's do that. So a times 5. And then a times 5 will give us what? 40, okay? We get square root of 40. Now we get square root of 40. We have to look which square root. We have to look. Can we break this down into this perfect square? The list that I gave you. Okay. So the list is square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16, square root of 25, and so forth. Okay. Yeah. Can we? So yes, we see 4 here. So 4 times 10 is still 40. So this one we can break it down to what? 4 times 10. The reason why we are doing that is because of the perfect square. We are interested with the perfect square. Okay. Alright, after we get the perfect square, now let's split it. We are going to split it again. It's a lot of bringing it together and splitting. So we split it again. So that here can be the same as square root of 4 times square root of what? 10. Yeah. But square root of 4 is what? It's 2. So it becomes 2 root 10. Now we want to see if we can also break this 10 down. This 10 here, that is what we call the radicand. Can we break it down into one of the perfect square? 4 cannot go there, 9 cannot go into 10. So no. So this is the lowest that we can go under the radical sense. So we stop here. So the answer becomes 2 root 10. That's an answer. So we have already talked about the first one when we said if we have this here for all real numbers, we said this is what? It's plus or minus a, which is the same as absolute of what? A. But now here they are saying for non-negative real numbers. That means they are saying that c have to be greater than 0. Okay, so square root of c or squared, it was supposed to be plus or minus c, but here they want us to look at only what? The positive. It said non-negative, so we are just looking at plus c, and plus c is the same as c, so the answer will be c in this situation. But for all real numbers, the answer would have been absolute of what? C. Okay. So this one, we have to use a multiple choice to answer this kind of question. You picked the 2 wrong ones. You know how to drive forward. Now you have to able to reverse. So we are reversing with this. So we got 3 root 8. How did we get 3? Which square root give us 3? 9. So this can tell us that square root of 9 And then it's times square root of what? 8. This is the first thing that you have to do. Huh?
And you put it together.
Yeah. So here you got that one. You check that one and then put it together. So you put it together as 9 times what? 8. And what do we get?
72.
Square root of 72. And I will check. It's not in there, but this is very good. It gives us a clue. So now we're going to go through the list to see which of the two square roots will give us 72. So here we multiply 3, square root of 3 times square root of 12. And this will give us square root of what? 36. And that's not. Here we bring 6 times 12. 72. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's one of them is equivalent. And here you come 3 times 24. Square root of 72. Oh, so it's. So you check all of that. So that's how we solve this one. Okay? All right, let's. No, we are going to try a similar. There's one similar question like this. You're going to do most of the work. This is another one. How do we do this?
You have to reverse it.
You
have to reverse it.
Okay. So how do we reverse that?
So we have to take the square root of what's inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3. So square root is 9.
Okay, good. There's 3 is already a radical.
Oh yeah.
So now we have to look at radical for 4. What radical will give us 4?
2.
That's a good attempt. How do we get 4? Okay, so remember, first of all, we were using this here. So first we were moving this way, driving this way. Now we have to reverse this way. So what gives us 4? Is that not square root of 16?
Oh yeah.
So we have to change this 4 to what? Square root of what? 16 times square root of what? Right. Good. So this is the first attempt. We check it's not in there. That's good. And now what do we do? What's the next step?
And then you put it together.
Put them together. And when we put them together, what do we get? 16 times 3 will give us what?
40.
40 what? 48. Okay? So be careful you don't select this. It's a square root of 48. So this. Yeah. And then after that, go through the list and multiply the 2 square root to see if you get square root of what? 48. So here 12 times 4, square root of 48. So it's equivalent. So remember we are looking for the equivalence. Okay. Now 24 times 2 is 48, square root of 48. So it's one of them. Yeah. And now this one, 4 times 3 is 12, so it's no. So these are the 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's 48 was the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting it?
Yep.
All right.
It's just like reversing that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, always anytime you're backing up, that's a difficult one. Okay, so let's look at one more. So square root of 100 is what? We know that square root is plus or what? Minus. And square root of 100 is what? So here, if we are looking for all of it, we can say, oh, plus or minus is also absolute of what? 10. So is this one square root of 100 is absolute of 10 or positive 10 or negative 10. So these are the 3. 1, 2, 3. How do we go about this question?
So you put them together.
Awesome. You bring them together.
100?
Okay, you got 140. And what do we do?
Oh, and then
So you start dividing them by the perfect squares to see. Okay, so 4. Okay, take one set. 9, and then 16, 25. So you can grab your calculator if it's going to be, you have a calculator, so you can also utilize a calculator. If that, so 240 140 divided by 4. You got a whole number, which is 35. That's good. Let's check 16. Anytime 4 goes in there, check 16 if you can shortcut the road. Okay, so 140 divided by 16. We got decimal, so we are going to stick with that 4. Okay, so that means this 140 can also be break down into 35. Let me write the 4 first. Let me write the perfect square first. So 4 times 35. And now what do? You split it back again. So you split it as what? Square root of 4.
Square root of 35.
Okay. And what is the square root of 4? So you write 2, and then you bring your root. 35. And this square root of 35, you cannot break it into 4. You cannot break it into 9, 16. So that means this is the lowest that we can break it down to with respect to the perfect square and irrational numbers. Okay? Getting it? All right.